Hello and welcome everybody to today's edition of Mexico News Network's Breaking News Business. I'm your host, Elliot Bullman. Remember to follow us on all our social networks and to catch us every day by logging onto our website, mexiconewsnetwork.com, for relevant stories and news. Let's start with today's information. To stop having Mexico as a trading partner would leave the inhabitants of the United States hungry and thirsty. The 5 Mexican products most exported to the United States, beer, tomato, avocado, tequila, and bell peppers, are already part of American citizens' consumption habits, says Jose Antonio Peral, Executive Director of ProMexico. For the first time, Mexico became the leading supplier of food and beverages in the United States in 2016. It did so despite uncertainty surrounding the North American Free Trade Agreement as part of the US electoral process. Last year, the United States imported $119.8 billion worth of food and beverages. Of that total, Mexico sent $24 billion, leaving behind Canada with $20.8 billion and China with only $4.6 billion, according to the US Census Bureau. Today, the outlook for Mexico is to retain this position, despite the slogan, Buy American, Contract Americans, promoted by President Donald Trump. Beer leads the list of agri-food products most exported to the United States. In 2016, over 2.5 billion liters were shipped, corresponding to 80% of Mexican beer exports. Details of Cerveceros de México, Cámara de la Cerveza. In other headlines, the improvement in the Standard & Poor's debt outlook is expected to contribute to the arrival of more foreign capital to Mexico. The inflow of capital will continue with a positive trend, agreed experts. The improvement in the outlook for the credit rating of Standard & Poor's last week for better debt management in Mexico will help attract more investment into the debt market. From January to July the 13th, government holdings in foreign hands registered an increase of 30.6 billion pesos and totaled 2.13 trillion pesos as of July 13th, according to figures from the Bank of Mexico. From the beginning of 2016 to June 2017, the central bank has increased its rate 8 times. In February 2016, the rate was 3.75%, and after the last increase in June stood at 7%. The US Federal Reserve has its benchmark rate at 1% and is expected not to increase today after its monetary policy meeting. Canada's rate is 0.75% and China's rate is 4.35%, according to data from Finamex Casa de Bolsa. The arrival of foreign capital is one of the factors that has strengthened the Mexican peso against the dollar this year. From January to July, the exchange rate appreciated 17%, going from 20.73 pesos on the first day of January to 17.74 pesos per dollar on July the 13th. Moving on. According to the Mexican Association of Hotels and Motels, Airbnb and HomeAway offer around 70,000 accommodations in Mexico, which operate under disparate conditions with hoteliers who want the federal and state governments to regulate Airbnb and HomeAway. For Rafael Garcia, president of the Mexican Association of Hotels and Motels, the regulation that began in Mexico City this year is not enough. They don't compete in the same conditions. It's very easy for them to offer low rates because they don't have to pay any taxes. They're also resources that they're escaping from the federal treasury, Garcia says. With an average occupancy of 70%, they're selling about 50,000 rooms. At a rate of 800 pesos means that about 40 million pesos a day goes unregulated, he explained. Garcia said that a hotelier must pay local governments the 3% lodging tax, which is only charged in Mexico City, in addition to the value-added tax of 16% and the tax on income of 35%. The latter two are federal. And finally, let's check the markets. The Mexican peso increased 0.23% to 17.63 from 17.59 in the previous trading session. IPC Mexico decreased 0.22% to 51,598 from 51,666 in the previous trading session. This was all for today. Thank you for staying with us. I'm your host, Elliot Bullman. Remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, and log on to MexicoNewsNetwork.com for more information on Mexico and the world. Until next time.